September 12, 2017. The brand new Steve Jobs Theater. The lights dim. Tim Cook steps onto the stage and builds towards the
one more thing.
For millions watching around the world, this was a moment of magic. The reveal of the iPhone X, a device that would go on to define what every smartphone would look like for the next decade. But for a very small, very dedicated group of developers and tech journalists, this moment wasn't a surprise at all. They'd already seen the notch. They'd already heard about the missing home button. Some had even seen perfect schematics of the phone. The iPhone X had been revealed, not by a factory leak and not by accident. For as long as we've been paying attention, Apple has been known as a fortress of secrecy, a company famous for locking down every detail until the moment of reveal. The story we usually hear is pretty simple. Apple is locked in a never-ending war against leaks, and every now and then they lose. But what if that story isn't the whole picture? What if Apple hasn't just learned to live with leaks, but figured out how to use them to their advantage? Look closely, and it doesn't seem like Apple's losing a battle at all. It feels more like they're following a strategy. Let's start with one of their most clever tactics, the strategic trial balloon. Take the iPhone 7 and the headphone jack controversy. Removing a port that had existed for more than a century sounded like commercial suicide. But months before launch, something strange happened. Rumors started to spread. Anonymous sources confirmed the headphone jack was going away. The internet exploded. People were angry. They mocked Apple. There were petitions, rants, even memes about dongle life. But something else happened too. Time passed. By the time the phone was finally announced, most of the anger had already burned out. People had time to get used to the idea, to grieve the loss, and eventually to move on. This wasn't an accident. Apple had used the rumor mill like a pressure valve, letting the outrage out early so that launch day could focus on the features they wanted to talk about. Then there's what we might call the supply chain whisper network. The iPhone is one of the most complex consumer products ever made. Hundreds of parts, dozens of suppliers, factories spread across the globe. Total secrecy is impossible. So Apple does something counterintuitive. They lean into it. Chassis dimensions leak to accessory makers, which means that on launch day, there's already an entire ecosystem of cases, chargers, and stands waiting for customers. Those same leaked schematics end up in the hands of CAD artists, who turn them into photorealistic renders. Those renders dominate tech blogs for months, creating hype cycles Apple never had to pay for. Every leak becomes free marketing. Every render a piece of unofficial advertising. And all Apple has to do is let just enough information escape to keep the machine running. But perhaps Apple's most fascinating tactic is the intentional mistake. In 2017, Apple accidentally pushed a version of its HomePod firmware to the public. Inside the code, developers found a small, simple icon, a perfect outline of the iPhone X, notch and all. This wasn't a grainy spy photo. This was a blueprint, straight from Apple servers, and it sent the tech world into overdrive. It confirmed months of speculation in a single stroke, and set expectations sky high for the launch event. In hindsight, it almost felt like a digital teaser trailer, deliberately aimed at the most obsessive Apple fans, the kind of people who would dig through firmware line by line. So why do it? Because in a world of instant information, true secrecy is an illusion. There will always be rumors. There will always be leaks, and not all of them are accurate. Some could even harm Apple's carefully crafted story. But if Apple can control which leaks get out, they can control the narrative. They can steer the conversation toward the features they want you to care about. They can soften the blow of controversial decisions months before launch. And they can turn the public, people like you and me, into participants in a worldwide mystery, dissecting every leak, every render, every rumor. And this is the genius of Apple's strategy. Leaks keep the company in the news year-round, at no cost. They keep competitors guessing, fans speculating, and critics talking. The story of Apple leaks isn't a story of failure. It's a story of adaptation. The companies that once tried to seal every secret now plays both sides of the game, acting as the leaker and the leaked. The line between accident and strategy has never been blurrier, and maybe that's exactly how Apple wants it. So what do you think? Is Apple orchestrating the greatest PR strategy in tech history? Or are these just very convenient coincidences?